Delta hedging call option example. Welcome back. In this video, we will work through an example of a delta hedged call option. We are now going to take an example of being long one SPY 450 call option and delta hedging it. That is the right to buy 100 shares of SPY. If we assume that SPY is actually trading currently at 450, as we can see on this diagram of the call, then what would the delta be? Well, the delta would be 0.5 because it's an at the money option. And it's a call option, so the delta would be positive. Now, because this is the right to buy 100 shares, because the multiplier is 100, then the appropriate hedge for this call option would be to sell 100 times the delta 0.5, which is 50 shares of SPY. So if we put our position into this table showing all the different metrics with the spot at 450, the options delta at 50%, the options delta in shares terms would be, well, 100, which is our multiplier, multiplied by the delta would be 50 shares equivalent. The delta hedge that we would need, as we've just discussed, would be a short position of 50 shares of SPY. The net delta is just the sum of these two, which would be 0 because we are delta hedging the position. And then we'll go on to the rebalancing trade in the next part. So you can see that is our static and initial hedge to being long one of the SPY 450 calls. So once we do that initial short trade of 50 shares, that means we are delta neutral, we are delta hedged. It's called a flat delta position. Now, suppose the market moves up to 460. So the market goes from 450 to 460. Well, we can see on the diagram what happens. Here, we were at the money with a delta of 0.5. We've now moved up to 460. And as we know, as the call option becomes more in the money, that delta is getting steeper. So we could say that the delta at 460 may well have increased to around 0.7 or 70%. So if we put that into the table and we see we've got a 70% delta as the spot price has gone from 450 to 460, well, that means our option delta has increased. It's no longer the equivalent of 50 shares. It's the equivalent of 100 times 70%, which is 70 shares. The delta hedge, our short shares position, is still short 50. So our net delta, as you can see, is the sum of those two. So that has become a positive 20 shares position. That is no longer delta neutral. At this higher level of SPY, our position has changed. Our net delta has increased from 0 to 20 shares long. To remain delta neutral, to be hedged, we need to execute a rebalancing trade. That rebalancing trade will be to sell 20 shares to get that net delta back down to 0 and remain delta neutral. Okay, great. So we had a delta hedge call position. The market moved up. We became longer delta. So then we sold some more shares to get back to delta neutral. Now, let's suppose the market moves again, but this time it goes straight back to 450. Well, what happens? We go from 460 to 450, and you can see on this delta, on this call option, we can see that the delta is back to 50%. That is the equivalent of 50 shares. But what is our delta hedge now? We had that initial delta hedge of 50 shares. We did a rebalancing trade of short 20, which now means our delta hedge is short 70. So our net delta, if we add the two positions, is 50 minus 70, which is a short of 20 shares. That's no longer delta neutral. So what do we need to do? We need to buy back those short 20 shares that we have become through the movement in the market. So the next rebalancing trade would be to buy 20 shares. And so you can see our delta hedge goes from minus 70 plus 20, it goes back to minus 50. That is our new delta hedge position. Now let's take the scenario that the market goes down. Let's say we go down to 440. Well, you can see from this diagram, as the market drops, the option becomes out the money. What do we know about the out the money option? The delta is going to go down. Let's assume the delta drops to 0.3, 30 delta. So we've got a 30% delta on this 450 strike call with the spot price at 440. That's the equivalent of 30 shares, 100 times 30%. But our delta hedge, as we know, is short 50. So what is the net delta? The net delta is short 20. 30 minus 50 is short 20. So again, we're no longer delta neutral. Every time the market moves, we have a change in delta that's happening. That change in delta is because this call option doesn't have the same delta for different levels of spot. What are we going to do about it? We're going to buy back those shares at the spot price of 440. So you can see the market goes up, we sell shares. The market goes back down, we buy shares. And remember, the prices that we are buying these shares at are the spot prices at the time. That's these spot levels when the market moves. So you can see we have sold 20 shares at a price of 460. We have bought them back at a price of 450. And we just bought our last clip at a price of 440. So notice we are buying when it goes down and we are selling when it goes up. Now let's take the final bit of this example where the stock goes back up again, back to 450. It's an at the money call again. The delta is 50%. That's the equivalent of 50 shares. We have got a short 30 position now because we were short 50. We had bought 20 back. That left us short 30. What's the net delta of these two? That is a long 20 position. What do we have to do about it? We have to sell it back out, sell 20 shares at the new prevailing price of 450. So what can we see? We can see that in the end, the market ended up exactly where it started, back at 450 on SPY. But in the meantime, just by delta hedging our position, just by staying delta neutral, we ended up doing trades. We ended up selling and buying back. And the difference between the sale and the buy was $10. And again, we bought at 440 and we sold it back out again at 450. So both these trades made a profit of $10 per share in 20 shares. So that is just $200 profit. $200 profit as the market moved around. Not that we knew where the market was going to go, we just kept hedging our delta, and it was just that movement of the market that made us money because we were rebalancing our delta on our option, and that made us sell when the market went up. It made us buy when the market went back down. Next, we're going to take the same example of price moves, but in the case when we are long and at the money put.